Good evening, everybody. So as promised, we are back with KPR Snapshots, Knowledge Capsulized, and welcome to episode 2, which is going to be on Armenia and Azerbaijan, as I told you last time. So since you know the format, we can jump straight into the issue. So before we begin, I'm going to start with this quote from Niccolo Machiavelli, who said, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." Of course, Mahatma Gandhi disagreed with this idea, but the basic message he is trying to convey is in international relations, right? It is like Hunger Games because there's no common government or no common sovereign to impose order. So your desire for peace depends on your preparation for war, right? And it is with this idea in mind that we should look at any country that Russian realpolitik is associated with, right? So moving on, this is the map of Armenia and Azerbaijan. As you can see, the key players are Turkey as well as Russia, which border them. They open into the Caspian Sea. As we can see, there's Azerbaijan, capital Baku, Armenia, capital Yerevan, and this is this much spoken disputed territory called Nagorno-Karabakh. Okay, what is very important here is Lake Sevan, and Lake Sevan exists in Armenia. They can ask you for prelims and so on, right? Which is why it becomes important. So the capitals, as I said, Yerevan is in Armenia, and Baku is the capital of Azerbaijan. You would have seen the beautiful picture in the beginning, which was a picture of Yerevan. Okay. So who are the major players involved in this conflict? Who are the stakeholders? In other words, to use ethics terms, Vladimir Putin of Russia, Turkey's Erdogan, Armenia's Nikol Pashinyan, and Azerbaijan's Aliyev. All very strong personalities, highly disciplined, highly ordered, quite charismatic. They don't speak much. You can call the quintessential alpha male type of personalities that we see. So from a prelims perspective, as we just spoke about the Caspian Sea. As you can see, this is the Caspian Sea area. So surrounding the Caspian Sea, you have 5 countries, and the mnemonics I have for this is curry with tea. You know, in some areas in Tamil Nadu, people have mutton with tea. So K for Kazakhstan, A for Azerbaijan, R for Russia, I for Iran, and T for Turkmenistan. Right? Turkmenistan being a part of the Central Asian countries that we saw last time. Right? This is a bigger picture. It's not as clear, but it does the job, right? You can just look at it. And then you have the Black Sea countries, that is curry tea for Caspian Sea. For Black Sea, you have burger and tea, right? For Caspian Sea, it's curry and tea. For Black Sea, you have burger and tea. So what are the burger and tea countries? Bulgaria. For U, you have Ukraine. For R, you have Russia. For G, you have Georgia. For the other R, you have Romania. And for T, you have Turkey, right? This is a key location also from a map perspective, right? This is the bigger map of it. Black Sea, Kamala, you have the Azov Sea, and this opens into the Mediterranean Sea, right? As you can see. So what is this Armenia-Azerbaijan issue about? Now that we have seen the geography, we are ready to understand this issue. Nagorno-Karabakh is also, another name for this is Artsakh, which they can trouble you in prelims with, so remember that. It is internationally recognized as a part of Azerbaijan. Okay. It's internationally recognized as a part of Azerbaijan, though most of the region is controlled by Armenian separatists. That is the issue. It's kind of like the Kashmir issue. Right? Internationally, it's recognized by Azerbaijan, but separatists control it, sort of like Pakistan occupied Kashmir, right? Though there is no international recognition of Kashmir as being part of India, but in this case, it's internationally recognized, yet the Armenian separatists control it, right? And it has been of the part of the Azerbaijan territory since the Soviet era. Since the Soviet era, when did the Soviet Union break down? We saw it last time, 1991, started with 1989. Fall of the Berlin Wall, and much earlier with the Afghan wars, right? So what is the population and ethnography of Armenia, Azerbaijan like? The majority of the population in Nagorno-Karabakh is Armenian Christian. right? So there's a religious angle to this, right? But Azerbaijan is a Muslim majority country. Remember, it is internationally part of Azerbaijan, but Nagorno-Karabakh is Armenian Christian population. So there are two issues always that will arise when we look at either Central Asian countries as well as Eastern European problems like the Yugoslavian war, etc., which is the two axes are nationalism on one hand, the second one is religion, right? You know, Yugoslavia split up into so many countries and so many genocides took place, etc. This is very similar, right? But I mean, there hasn't been mass genocide, but there has been fighting and loss of life over a period of time, right? Because of nationalism as well as religious divides. Geostrategically, Nagorno-Karabakh is a breakaway region in South Caucasus and Transcaucasia. These are strategically important mountainous regions in Southeast Europe, right? So very strategically important from the standpoint of location, right? Strategic location as well as resources, something to remember. So what we don't have to go into it completely, but nama UPSC பொறுத்த அளவுக்கு how much of the history should we know as far as prelims is concerned as well as mains, right? We don't need to go into the detailed exposition of and understanding of world history. So let's look at it. So the issue is multiple dynasties have come and occupied these variously ethnic communities in the course of the following centuries. So அது கை மாறிட்டே இருந்துச்சு, right? Just like the scramble for Africa, right, where you had multiple powers vying for power. In Europe, these territories were occupied by various powers at different points in time. The key date is in the 1980s, where the Armenian parliament voted for transfer of Nagorno-Karabakh to Armenia. Remember, right now it's recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but this demand was rejected by the collapsing Soviet Union. See, Soviet Union, what they largely tried to do was balance. Right? They didn't care too much for religion, as you know, right? They don't believe in God, and they're godless commies, as the Americans like to call them derogatorily, right? So what were they basically trying to do is balance Armenia on one hand and Azerbaijan on the other hand. So when there are such issues where their religion comes into play, they won't take an explicit stand on one side or the other, right? So they'll try to appease both sides, generally the stronger side, okay, so that they don't rebel against them. What is the current status looking like? Armenia, Azerbaijan and Russia have signed an agreement to end the military conflict over the disputed enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh. Okay, so recently there were disputes, and as you know, the Azerbaijanis under Aliyev was the one who went on the offensive and he captured some territory, and now they have agreed to put an end to this entire conflict. However, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan called the deal incredibly painful both for me and both for our people. Why? Because the offender was rewarded. Azerbaijan can now hold on to the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh that it has taken during the conflict. Armenia has also agreed to withdraw, right? So this is again reminiscent of some of the India wars with Pakistan, right? Where we went and captured territory. We went as far as Lahore, but then we ended up giving the territory by ourselves because we are not interested in invading and taking over countries, right? But Pakistan was not asked to withdraw from Pakistan occupied Kashmir, right? So that is one of the reasons why Kashmir is criticized. The Kashmir issue, the handling of the Kashmir issue is criticized, right? So according to this deal, 2,000 personnel who would be a part of the UN peacekeeping force will arrive at Nagorno-Karabakh, and the airbase is at Ulyanovsk. So this is in the news. Please look it up in the map. Part of their role will be to guard the Lachin corridor. Remember, Lachin corridor is to do the Armenia-Azerbaijan issue, which links the Karabakh capital Stepanakert to Armenia. Okay, Turkey is also a part of the peacekeeping process because, as you know, Turkey is also vying for power in the region under Erdogan. And Turkey being a Muslim country is going to be more in favor of Azerbaijan, right, as opposed to Armenia. Now, there were two groups that were set up before this conflict happened, and we shall see this from the standpoint of prelims. One is called the Minsk Group. Now, the Minsk Group is the only internationally agreed body to mediate the negotiations for the peaceful resolution of the conflict. So, the only internationally agreed body. The strange thing is it's chaired by France, Russia and US, right? So, you don't even have the countries of Armenia and Azerbaijan in the foray. They're not even included, which is why it is often said in international relations, if you're not on the table, you're on the menu, right? So Armenia and Azerbaijan have been on the menu for a long time. So it functions under the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, and it works based on the Madrid principles that was proposed by the Minsk Group in 2007. Now, what do these Madrid principles say? Madrid principles, they are pragmatic suggestions for settling the conflict of Nagorno-Karabakh. Okay, it is based on the idea that Armenia must withdraw its military because it's a part of, it is occupied by separatists, right? And internationally it is recognized and in favor of Azerbaijan, right? In exchange for Azerbaijan granting de facto autonomy to Nagorno-Karabakh. See, this was the compromise they're trying to reach, which is Yanakku Vanda, Unakku Vanda, Armeniaku Vanda, Azerbaijanku Vanda. We will keep autonomy over here, autonomous region, right? Which is also some of the claims being made in Kashmir. Right? The other organization which speaks about this issue is the Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is a Russia-led military alliance. It is based on the concept of collective defense. Collective defense means as follows, which is an attack on one ally is an attack on everybody. Right? All for one for all, as the Three Musketeers say. Right? So if one of us is attacked, the rest of the Russia-led alliance will react. Okay? And it originates from the conclusion of the Collective Security Treaty, which was signed in, remember from last time, Tashkent, capital of Uzbekistan. And the members here being Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Russia, and Tajikistan. Right? So over here, Azerbaijan is not included. Right? So remember again, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, which later on became Kyrgyzstan, Russia, and Tajikistan. Right? So that is the end of today's episode, and that must be enough for you to answer questions when it comes to your prelims, as well as write a decent mains answer based on this. Before we end today, I would like to end with this quote from Madeleine Albright, who said, "A lot of people think international relations is like a game of chess, but it's not a game of chess where people sit quietly, think out their strategy, taking their time between moves. It's more like a game of billiards with a bunch of balls clustered together. So the balls are in play. The question is, are you going to be the player or are you going to be the one who's being played?" Right? With that, I sign off today. Have a good day, and I will catch you back with another episode of KPR Snapshots.